Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live by Sobirovs Law Firm. My name is 𝗵𝗲𝗀𝗀, managing lawyer at this boutique business immigration law firm in Toronto. We are joining live on Wednesday because traditionally we used to have Friday lives. Now we switch to Wednesday live starting this October. As you know, October is a startup month at Sobirovs Law Firm, and we are bringing you amazing content from different parts of startup world. We talked with Synergy Lab last week. Today we have a business incubator, which is a designated organization within the startup visa program. It's a designated organization by Canadian government. So my guest today will be Sparks Business Incubators President and CEO Sherry Colbourne, and I will bring her interview to your attention in a moment. But before I do that, for those who are joining us for the first time from different parts of the world, we are a business immigration law firm in Toronto. We only do business immigration, investor immigration, and what is now known as tech immigration. So we bring foreign workers to Canada, and also we help Canadian companies to bring foreign talent to this beautiful country. Couple of news that occurred last week since we met last Wednesday. One is very relevant to business immigration, indirectly relevant to business immigration, is that now students in Canada, international students in Canada, can work more than 20 hours a week. They can work full time eventually. This is relevant to business immigration. Now you have a bigger pool, and finding workers for your Canadian business will be much easier. That's the intention, to increase international students' labor participation in Canadian market. So next time, our next guest will be also a VC firm CEO, a CEO from a venture capital firm. Please send us your questions in advance through social media to that CEO. He will be our guest next time. Today, I have a privilege to present you the interview with Spark Center's President and CEO, Sherry Colbourne. The way it works is I present you the interview and then I come back again to answer your questions. We got several questions from our international audience, and I posed those questions to Sherry. You will get amazing, very good insights into the startup visa program from a business incubator's perspective. So let's start that interview. Today's, as I said, it is Startup Visa, a Canadian business incubator perspective. So after this interview, I will come back to you for your questions. Let's watch it together. Enjoy. Hello again, and I'm here with Sherry Colbourne, President and CEO of Spark Center. Thanks to Nova, we were introduced, and we will take her insights on Startup Visa program. As you know, October is a Startup Visa month at Sobirovs Law Firm, and we are very privileged to be at Spark Center. Thank you very much, Sherry.
You're welcome. Nice to have you.
So Sherry is a very international caliber of entrepreneur, and we will get her insights as a president and CEO and someone who traveled around the world extensively, I would say.
Yes.
So, okay, excellent. So let's start with, if you could briefly introduce yourself. I'm sure they can find some information online, but hearing from you would be better.
Unfortunately so. Yes, I'm Sherry Colbourne. I'm CEO of Spark Center. Spark Center is, besides being a startup visa designate, we are a strong proponent of international talent across all immigration pathways. Mm-hmm. And we have the privilege of being one of 17 regional innovation centers across Ontario. So we have a very wide network that we play in.
I see. And on the website, you mentioned several levels of your cooperation: national, federal level, mm-hmm. provincial, and regional. Let's start with the national level. What's the structure or collaboration scheme on the national level that Spark Center has?
So on the national level, that's really our relationship with IRCC as a startup visa designate. Mm-hmm. We currently don't receive any funding at the federal level, but it's definitely something that we continue to work on.
Excellent.
And then at the provincial level, we are contracted by the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade as one of 17 RICs across the province. So we get funding to support local entrepreneurs here at the Spark Center. And then in addition, at the municipal level, we have really wonderful relationships both with the region of Durham and the city of Oshawa, who are all funders.
So when attracting international entrepreneurs, you can support them across all levels, because what happens, as you may know already, Sherry, is in different countries, the Canadian government system is a bit of a mystery, because my clients also, they mention, oh, why can't we talk to federal government directly? There are levels of government. So you mentioned it correctly: national level, federal level, regional, provincial level, and Durham region. We are on a regional level right now. What's the significance of this location as a Durham region, and what kind of technology or industries are present in your region?
Well, we try to stay industry agnostic, although we do have sort of 5 focus areas. Because Durham region is sort of the eastern gateway to the Greater Toronto area. So we don't see the same level of momentum of entrepreneurs locating in the region. Now, during COVID, that changed a little bit because people were getting out of the city. And we hope to continue to leverage that to attract, very bright, innovative startups to come to the Durham region. I would say that the difference maybe here than from other areas of Ontario is because we are on the kind of the western gateway of Eastern Ontario. There's a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs to build incredible companies, but at a much lower cost of operation.
Yes. And the GTA is one of the most dynamic regions of Canada, perhaps of North America lately in terms of technology, tech. We try to coin a new word, tech immigration. So tech immigration is being one of the drivers of that. So as a startup visa designate, when did it start? Let me put it bluntly. Why Spark Center is a designate of the startup visa program?
Yeah, so that's the Sherryism. So when I returned from the Middle East, as you probably know, I lived in the Middle East for 4 years. When I came back to the region, I'm actually Toronto born and raised. So when I came back into the region, I was thinking about my own entrepreneurial journey, and I actually built my first business in the Waterloo region under the care and guidance of Communitech. When I came here, I kind of looked around and thought, gosh, what a great opportunity we have, but we just don't have the momentum. We didn't have the quantity of entrepreneurs that are required, to really build a thriving ecosystem. And so on the heels of my international work that I had done, it seemed obvious.
Yes.
I mean, so many wonderful, talented entrepreneurs all over the world who would love to make Canada their home. And I found out about the Startup Visa program, and I knew the minute I started reading about it that was something that I would want to do. So we applied to get our designation within months of me arriving at Spark, and it took us, back in the day, it only took us a few months to get our designation, and then we, kind of tippy-toed into the realm.
And I hope it will be a quick note to Minister Sean Fraser to speed up the startup visa program as much as possible. That would be really appreciated. Maybe next year will be faster than before. Okay, so your entrepreneurship international on a global scale allowed you to see those talents in the Middle East, in other parts of the world that you travel to. And now, would it be correct, do you agree with me when I say Startup Visa program is Canada's attempt to tap into those global markets of talent and bring them to Canada, make them quote-unquote Canadian startups?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's an amazing program. I think as a designate, together with many of the other designates, we've learned, a lot along the process. We've been in the, the business now for almost 5 years of bringing internationals. But yes, absolutely, it is our attempt to bring, really bright, innovative startups to Canada, make Canada their headquarters, and develop global businesses from a Canadian address.
Quoting again Minister Sean Fraser, it's a secret weapon of Canada to bring the best and brightest to this country. Excellent. Very good. So now, can you tell us briefly, we know the startup visa program process as lawyers, but from your perspective, how can you describe it? What are the stages of startup visa program from business incubator perspective?
So I think, the very first step is just finding or figuring out which incubator you want to be associated with. And as you know, there are lots of designated incubators around Canada and many in Ontario. So I think it's really important for the entrepreneur to figure out, where do I want to build my business? Because there's lots of options. And I think the last thing that an incubator would want is for somebody to come to our region, but then relocate when they arrive. Because, after all, as an incubator, we get to tell our story through our clients. And so it's really important to have successful clients. I think the second thing is to, really understand your business, in terms of what's the market you're going after, how big of an opportunity is it, because all of these things have to eventually be captured in a business plan. So it's important to do that research. And then I think maybe thirdly, one of the bigger challenges that we see with our internationals is that I think you have to suspend your knowledge about what you think you know about your business markets and culture until you've really researched the Canadian market. And, Canadians, and, we do a lot of fun posts about Canadianisms to help internationals understand that it's a different world here. And it's important to get that baseline, to realize that I'm moving into a different world, it's a different culture. Staying open, staying curious, and being willing to adapt to a new environment.
Great tips from the practitioner of Startup Visa program. That's great. And speaking of that market research and relearning the new market, I just talked in our previous episode. We talked about Synergy Lab that you cooperate with. Is it two distinct organizations serving for the same common good or purpose? How do you work with Synergy Labs now that the evolution comes from their side and then passed on to Spark?
So we work very collaboratively with Synergy. Synergy really is an independent training facility that helps internationals really understand the Canadian market and helps them really dig into their business plan and sort of fill in some of the gaps that they may have. Obviously, if someone goes through a Synergy program and thinks, you know what, I would love to be part of the Spark Incubator, then they will make an application into our organization, and then we review those businesses for acceptance into the incubator. And what we find is that clients who have put the time, the energy, just the brain power into really focusing on their business, where they want to land, how they're going to grow their business from that particular location, always fare a lot better than ones that just kind of come through the front door and haven't had the benefit of that training.
Now, distinguishing those who are coming through Synergy's program and coming directly to you, what is the percentage? Can we divide them into certain percentages of applicants, let's say?
Yeah, it's quite, I would say we get quite a number of, sort of what I would call through the front door applicants. Many of them are rejected because they just don't have the, and when I say rejected, I don't mean it's not a no, it's just you need to go back and do some more work. Yes. And so right now, I would say we're probably, maybe 75-25 in terms of applicants that are successful at Spark are coming through the Synergy program.
Excellent. And now more refined question is, what's the percentage of success of those who are coming through Synergy's program?
Well, it's very high, actually.
Okay.
Synergy does a really good job of putting the startups through the kind of rigor that Spark's Startup Visa Committee applies to the review process. Okay. Occasionally, we have some that we turn back because we think they haven't quite done something
Not there yet.
Yeah, but we don't reject them. We just simply say, go back and get a little bit more homework done on this element of the business or another element of the business. And often it's around financials.
I see. And it's, you said one of the challenges is that bringing them to your incubation process, then keeping them in the region. But from my perspective as a business immigration lawyer, it's having that business case so bulletproof, and before you apply to IRCC, to Immigration Canada, so all your paperwork is done without any problem, without any hiccups. So in a way, I can see both Synergy and Spark help you to build your business case, make it bulletproof. So these are not wasted energy and investment of time, because once you apply to Immigration Canada, that's the end. That's the end in a way that you cannot make much change after that. So you gotta be prepared before you apply. And how many applications, if I may ask, have been awarded your letter of support from on a yearly basis, maybe quarterly basis?
Goodness, that's a tough question, because I think, as you know, since COVID, the letters of support have declined considerably. Yeah. Although I have to say, so I can't answer that question specifically. I know that we've probably got, I just went through my AGM a couple of weeks ago, and I remember thinking to myself, that's interesting. We have about 100 local entrepreneurs, and we have 100 international entrepreneurs
in the pipeline.
In Sparks.
At the moment. Okay.
At the moment,
as we speak. Okay.
Yeah. But we have many hundreds in the pipeline of application that have not yet been approved, either for a work permit or a PR.
So as you know, if you haven't researched the Startup Visa program, that's a very unique program in a sense that once you apply and ready to apply for permanent residence through through Startup Visa, while that being considered, you can apply for work permit. That's why Sherry mentions two categories, work permit and PR. So what is the percentage, what is the probability, I would say, percentage of those who apply for work permit in the meantime while their PR is being considered?
Unfortunately, not as many as we would like. I think there are a lot of immigration attorneys who kind of frown upon the work permit. Maybe they think it's too high risk, and they direct their clients away from it.
I see.
But we see tremendous success with the work permit, because the work permit demonstrates to the IRCC, even if your business plan in the early stages had some soft areas, which of course is fully understandable, you're not in Canada yet, through the work permit you can actually land and then actually shore up those elements of the business plan. So I'd like to see more, for sure, people applying for work permits.
You are an entrepreneur of international caliber. What did you see in foreign countries where you visited? What's the perception of Canada among entrepreneurs? Do they know Canada? Do they know Canada's ecosystem or certain regions? What was your experience?
Everybody seems to know Canada, which is wonderful. I think Canada has a very neutral political stance, and so it's kind of considered very, very. It's very well regarded. In terms of what how much people know about Canada. I mean, they know the big centers, right? Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. And I'm keenly aware of that because I, lived abroad. And so when you talk about anything outside of the, the big three, maybe Ottawa. Ottawa gets some cachet. Nobody really knows. And so it's really important for us as a region to really make the region exciting, make it more known. And so as the CEO of Spark, one of the things that I undertook when I arrived again a few years later is really trying to expand the knowledge of people external to Canada in terms of what Eastern Ontario has to offer. So anybody from Canada would know that Eastern Ontario is a really up-and-coming area of the country. But outside, you would never know that. So we undertook an initiative called the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor. And it's really where ourselves, as the founding Regional Innovation Centre, together with innovators all the way down to the Quebec border, have come together to support startups, internationals, and just, grow that economic impact that's being created for Canada, but here in Eastern Ontario.
Now, you partially answered my next question. Very, very smart. What's the challenge and what's the issue that Spark Center wants to solve in its existence? What is it that we need to solve through Spark?
Yeah, so I think the issue I'm trying to solve is I just want more startup founders to be part of our community, both here in Durham region, obviously because we're located here, but I also want to be sensitive to the fact that there will be internationals that come and perhaps their businesses are not necessarily best served by Durham. Maybe they would be better served by Kingston, Ontario. And so I have created these partnerships where I can tap my network and make those internationals available to other regions so that they can thrive. Because in the end, everything we do is about the success of the entrepreneur. That's it.
One of our listeners, he asked me, I want to enter US market, but I want to do it through Canada. What would you say about that kind of a project?
I'd say welcome. And here's why. You hit the nail on the head. Canada is a very small market. North America together is a large market. And there are certain sectors where an entrepreneur can actually penetrate the US market before they'll penetrate the Canadian market. And one that comes to mind is health tech. So Canada's healthcare system, as you know, is, it has a lot of regulatory, part of the reason why it's a great healthcare sector. But if you're trying to bring a new product to market, sometimes the process of achieving those regulatory, certifications, what have you, can be quite long. And so it's not uncommon for health tech startups to find early entrant into the US, build that as traction, for their eventual rollout into Canada. So it's a way that, the US and Canada work really well together.
All our listeners and international audience, they love success stories. Can you share with us some of those success stories and mentioning which countries they originate from?
Sure. So one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is a company called 𝗏𝗏. Founder is Evandro Barros, Brazilian. He came to us really early. He was one of our first cohorts that came to Canada. Well, he's obviously landed now. He has his PR. His family have arrived. I think he's even successfully has brought his mom up from Brazil. So yeah, things are good. On the business side, becoming Canadian actually enabled him to raise significant dollars, interestingly enough, from his home country, Brazil.
Wow.
And I remember chuckling with him and saying, wow, that's kind of ironic. But he was explaining to me that Canada is so well viewed, and startups that are Canadian are so well viewed by other areas of the world, that it often attracts much higher level funding, even if it's from your home country. So it's a kind of an interesting twist, but it's one that works. And he's gone on to really parlay that into a number of different businesses that he's spun out. So he's enjoying quite a bit of success here.
Another question that came from our audience is there any financial investment that they need to make to benefit from Spark's activities, support, and endorsement, let's say?
Right. So the short answer is no, not to Spark. But what we do ask our entrepreneurs to do is invest in themselves. So they need to invest in their businesses. They need to make sure that they have sufficient capital to bring the business to market. And they have to be able to have enough of a nest egg that they can anticipate setbacks because nothing is linear and up.
Especially in the startup world.
Yeah, exactly. And inevitably, you find out new information when you go to a market. You come into it with some assumptions, and then as you get to know people and you get your way around the network, you're kind of like, oh, incorrect assumption. And that can have, it can mean that you have to pivot, or it can mean that you have to rethink how you're going to approach the market, and that costs time and money.
I see. So invest into yourself, invest into your own business. I think refine it through Synergy's program, and then work with Spark's team, and Sherry will be very happy to guide you, and her team is, I can see a big team here, happy to guide you through the process. That's great, and it decreases that fear factor of the unknown. From our international entrepreneurs, they've achieved great things in their home countries, but still Canada is in territory unknown, and Spark is here to guide them.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really interesting is when you come from a foreign country and English is a second or third language, one of the things I learned when I was, of course, traveling all over was, you can have a very incredible command of your home, your mother tongue. When you start to communicate in a different language, often your communication style is very basic. It's basic because you're not very, knowledgeable yet. And so sometimes it becomes difficult to sell because it sounds like you're not as knowledgeable as you actually are. And so, we work with our internationals. One, obviously, as Spark, you're here in the building. We give you lots of practice on using English. We have some great advisors who train people on how to specifically do sales. And, if it becomes necessary, we can find you talent that can be, the Canadian talent on the ground that can help you, close deals.
Talent is a big pain point these days. Where is the talent in this region, in the GTA, maybe Durham region, where they can be found?
So we work with partners at Ontario Tech U, Trent University, Durham College. We work with Queen's down in Kingston, Caledonian. I mean, Loyalist. There's so many universities and colleges in this eastern corridor, and so we really try to pull out of the academic institutes, and then over and above that, I would say we have a lot of internationals that have learned about us, not necessarily because they want to become entrepreneurs in their own right, but because they would like to be part of the Canadian innovation ecosystem, and of course, we have other ways to help people get to Canada if they want to be, say, an employee.
Two last questions from the audience. One is, what should one do to be successful in the startup visa program?
First and foremost, just be knowledgeable. There's no shortcut to the hard work that's necessary to get through the process. And it's the same for starting a business if you're a local. You just have to be able to do the hard work. It's a lot of work. And then I would say, secondly, there's a period of time between where you get your letter of support and where you will eventually immigrate to Canada. And so it's really important to continue to advance the business. You can't sit at home waiting for that PR or that work permit. You really have to be working your business all the time.
And the final question, what is your strategic plan or outlook for the next 5 years as a Spark Center?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. My board would love you for that one. I would say to grow. I love scaling businesses. Spark has grown considerably since I came here, and I'd like to keep it. I'd like to keep it growing. I would love to have, a bigger facility, lots more space, lots more entrepreneurs. Creating kind of one of what we call here the big three, except in Durham region. So that's my goal.
Excellent. Well, that will be a counterbalance to Kitchener and Waterloo area on the other side of the of the Yonge Street.
Yes, exactly. Yes. You know the lingo.
So thank you very much for great insights. Thank you very much for the tips. I hope our audience will benefit from that and seriously consider working with Spark. and with Synergy and all those who are here to support you as an international entrepreneur. Thank you very much, Sherry, for your time. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I enjoyed it very much. Well, I hope you enjoyed this interview also. Now we will get to your questions. The way it works is I bring your questions in the following way. For example, our listener from Bangladesh, Muhammad, hello, and then I'll try to answer that question. If I cannot answer the question, I promise I'll get back to you if you leave your question as a comment under the video, okay? So a quick quick summary of what we just heard in the interview is you need to, if you want to know more about Spark Center, you need to visit their website. It's very easy, sparkcenter.org. Then you have a lot of guidelines here, okay? You lots of questions that will be answered, the location and everything. You have success stories, and make sure you subscribe to their channels. They do a lot of they create a lot of useful content. Second thing I want you to do is when you go to Sobirovs.com website, Sobirovs Law Firm website, we have a dedicated section for startups. There's a Startup Visa Guide 2022. Everything is discussed here. Our tips, advantages, disadvantages, the insight that we gathered throughout our experience, and alternatives too. So startup visa versus C11 work permit, how does it work, the whole thing, and also very useful content we created before. So this will be embedded on our YouTube channel. Also, I want you to check our YouTube channel. Last week we brought the interview with Synergy Lab that was mentioned during this interview. Synergy Lab helps entrepreneurs, international entrepreneurs, to come to do necessary research to get ready for startup visa. So they help you to get ready. Spark helps you to take the next step, okay? Spark Center is a designated organization under the Startup Visa program. A quick question that came from our listener from Cameroon. Let me bring that up. 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝘀. Hello, Elvis from Cameroon. Now, he mentioned that I'm 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝘀, an inventor from Cameroon, a holder of 4 patents of invention. That's very good to know. And he asks a question, how can I get started with the startup visa process? I'm in Cameroon. First, you need to educate yourself about startup visa. The 2 locations that I referred to you is our guide. When you go to our website, there's a guide here, Startup Visa in Canada 2022. All you need to know. We discussed on a very high level. We gave you the gist of it. Then I suggest that you contact Synergy Lab and tell about your project, your business case. Because what happens, 𝗵, is you have patents. That's great. You have patents, and that's a great starting point. However, do you have a business plan? Do you have finances? How much do you know about Canadian market? What are you trying to bring to Canadian market? Is it that project that you're coming with? Is it highly regulated? Is it hard to get licenses? Tons of questions that come in the initial stage, what I call exploratory stage. You have the business idea, and then you have to make sure that the business idea has a market fit. Have you sold your items before, like the goods that you invented or created? Having patent is a great start. However, it's just the beginning of the journey, okay? Now, another question from the same person, 𝗵, is asking, I won a gold medal with my inventions this year in Toronto, Canada. That's great. That gives you the solid foundation. Then are you trying to commercialize your patent? Have you applied for patent registration? Because in Canada, patent registration is a long process. and could be an expensive process. So if your patents are pending, that's another thing. And I'm sure Spark Center has collaborated with IP lawyers, intellectual property lawyers. They can guide you too. So contact Synergy Lab, contact Spark Center. They will be the first point of contact. If you want to discuss the legal aspects with Sobirovs law firms, we are business immigration law firms, and we help entrepreneurs to come to Canada themselves, their business, their tech talent, and of course their family. So if you want to talk to us, scan this barcode. It will connect to us. Go to Sobirovs law firm website, sobirovs.com. Then you can book 1 hour strategy meeting. Top right hand corner. Talk to us first and see where you are at this stage, how we can help you to get you to the next stage. Okay, that would be my advice for now. And other questions. The other questions are from the same listener. Can I have a partner to license my patents through this startup visa process? Well, having a patent or registered patent is not a requirement for startup visa. Startup visa requires you basically 3 basic things. 1, innovative business idea project. Second, obtaining letter of support either from VC who is ready to invest $200,000 into your venture, or from an angel investor who is ready to invest $75,000, or the third option, being accepted for a business incubator program like Spark Center's incubation program. That's the third option. So getting that, and then of course having the 5 founders or up to 5 founders that will be in the startup visa application program. You need to have that. Having a patent is a great plus, but it's not a requirement. Innovative, it probably supports your argument that your invention is an innovative invention. If you have patents in Cameroon, and I don't know the IP regime, I think there's a regime where a patent recognized in one country could be also recognized in other countries. But I'm not an IP lawyer. You need to talk to lawyers in Canada, IP lawyers in Canada, and discuss with them the preliminary course of action with respect to startup visas. Okay. How you can get started? You can get started. Talk to us, and we can then give you general guidance on how things will work, how much investment you need to, you need to make, and what are the legal fees and all this associated with your endeavors. And then also contact Synergy and Spark Center. They will probably be guiding you in the right path. I don't think you need to, at an initial stage, I don't think you need to bring up the IP aspect of your patents, but it's good to know what would be the implications of your existing patents in Canada. Okay. All right. The process, 𝗃𝗀 is asking, please tell about the processing time. Processing time for startup visa has become uncommonly long. So let's see what's the processing time today. We will see. Let me pull it up. Processing time for startup visa. I will do it as we speak. Please feel free to send me other questions too, because that makes this session more interesting. All right. Here we go. That harsh reality of processing time. I pulled up from Immigration Canada website. So startup visa is an economic immigration program, and why I selected startup visa. And at the moment, it's 32 months. This is permanent residence, okay? The time you obtain permanent residence. But while your application is being considered by Immigration Canada, you can apply for work permit and come to Canada, start working on your startup visa project, okay? As we discussed during the interview with Sherry Colbourne, work permit is a good start you shouldn't disregard that. Come to Canada, start doing what you're trying to do with your startup, and immigration permanent residence will be achieved in due course. Hopefully, everything will go smoothly during that process. Okay, so 32 months. Don't be scared. It's permanent residence, right? It's not just it's not the work permit. Work permits could be faster. To know more about how much realistically we achieved at Sobirovs law firm, how much realistic time expectation, go to our website. There are success stories under Insights. Click on Success Stories. See what we did for our previous clients under different business immigration programs, and you probably will relate to them too. Okay. All right. For now, this is it, and let me get another question. All right. 𝗬𝗏 is clarifying the patents are registered with the Organization of African Intellectual Property Organization. So this is something beyond my level, area of expertise. There is a process under international conventions of IP related to IP. So if there's one country has recognized your patent and registered it, so you need to understand the implications of that in Canada. All right. So I'm not an expert. You need to speak to an IP lawyer. I think Spark Center has their IP lawyer partners that they work together. Okay. Are you in the medical field, Mr. Elvis? I see your photo. Either you are in lab or you are in some medical facility. Okay. Another question. After getting a file number, how long will it take to be accepted by IRCC? Can you, Ms. Strong, can you clarify what kind of application is that? Because file numbers are issued to different applications, and that processing time is the best source of information is IRCC website, Immigration Canada website. And have you applied to your have you submitted your Canadian immigration application? If you can clarify that, I will try to get you the answer. Okay. Now, while I wait for your questions, let me quickly do another announcement. Next week, I will be interviewing a CEO of venture capital company, venture capital firm. So if you have questions to that CEO, please send me those questions through social media. You can put your comments on any social media post of Sobirovs Law Firm. We will gather those questions and pose those questions to the CEO of a VC firm and try to get an answer for you. Okay, and we will record the interview with the CEO of a venture capital firm, and then we will publish it like we did with Sherry's interview today. If you have any questions to us, not to our guest, but to our law firm, you can scan this barcode and message us via email or contact form on our website. Okay, whatever works for you. Social media, we monitor our social media channels, and your comments will not be disregarded. We will attend to them. Okay. Another question is how much is the cost of or fee you charge and how it is being paid? What are the core trade or business sectors for startup idea? Okay, Firoza, the charges, the legal cost overall depends on your immediate situation, on your previous immigration history, and many other factors that you need to know and we need to know. Okay, what we did for your convenience is we created fee calculator on our website. Let me bring it up again. I refer to our website many times because it's a sophisticated website with tons of knowledge for your benefit. If you go to fee calculator and at the top, you can select your your options, and it will give you answer these questions a little bit, and then these are very straightforward questions, nothing complex. It will give you an estimate, okay? However, the right quote will come from us after you consult with us, because we need to know. We spend 1 hour strategy meeting with you. It's the top right hand corner where you can book. 1 hour strategy meeting will be for your benefit. We will analyze your questions, your weaknesses, your strengths, what are the risks, and we are very open and transparent. We will give a holistic assessment of your case. So after that, we will send you a detailed email with our legal quote. So this is an estimate, but the exact fee will come from us on a case-by-case basis. We did this tool for your benefit to give you an estimate of the budget that you need to be ready to invest for your future in Canada. Okay, this is what I can say now, because if I give you a number now, I may be wrong, because I don't know the details of your background, the details of your family composition, what happened before with your possible Canadian immigrations. Have you done like criminal inadmissibility, medical admissibility? These are the concerns that we discussed during a 1 hour strategy meeting. I hope I gave you enough of an answer, but as I said, I cannot give you exact number without analyzing your background. Miss Strong is clarifying in case of applying for PR. Okay, I see. So the initial question was, after getting the file number, how long will it take to be accepted by IRCC? If it's a startup process, if it's a startup visa process, I brought up the processing time. At the moment, the PR processing time on the startup visa, according to the Canadian government, it is 32 months. However, I will reiterate, in the meantime, you can come on the work permit to start running your startup company and startup project. So this is only startup visa aspect. There are other business immigration programs that we help you with. It could be C11 significant benefit. It could be intra-company transfer. Those processing times are different. I suppose you are from Vietnam, looking at your full name. If you are from Vietnam, the best source of information for you is to see how we managed to help our previous Vietnamese clients. You can go here and search the Vietnamese success story. Here we go. I think this one is from Vietnam. Okay, so and take into account this case was handled during the COVID time. Okay, during COVID time, this is a work permit case. This is about work permit, and this is the success story. So if you want to know real life processing time, I think our client success story will give you more substance in terms of realistic expectations. Okay, but I hope it will get better and better as we process, because processing times is a headache. It's something that lawyers cannot control. We can control the application package, processing the application within the law firm, and once we apply, it's the area that we cannot intervene much. That's the reality we have to deal with. So if you have motivation to move to Canada through business immigration, I suggest that you give yourself enough buffer time for all the processing and preparation. Okay. All right. So yeah, WAM is clarifying the patents for 17 countries. That's great. Is Canada among those 17 countries, or is just relevant to African countries? The patent that you mentioned. All right. I think we are good to go today. Thank you for your active participation. Follow us on social media. We would highly appreciate if you subscribe and like and share our content, because the purpose of creating these valuable pieces of content is to educate potential immigrants, potential fellow Canadians. I consider you as future Canadian, because if my team helps you to come to Canada, to relocate to Canada, it's highly probable, with high probability, that you will become Canadian and my fellow countryman, countrywoman. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this session. Next week, please make sure that you send us your questions in advance, and we will be happy to respond to them during our live sessions. Have a great time the rest of the week. Enjoy and stay safe. Bye-bye.